just on that conference, on the 22nd of March, the chairperson, remember Karen Putasi, because she's been around in the public sector for a long time, Dame Karen Putasi, the board chair of Health New Zealand, wrote to the Finance Minister, Nicola Willis, who had expressed concern about, and obviously there had been concern within the Treasury about the surprise deficit that National inherited, and how suddenly, as you would have just heard in my conversation with the Taxpayers Union, that they were losing hundreds of millions of dollars every month, in actual fact, and it seemed to be out of control. Right? So Nicola Willis, she's been in the job, oh God, 3 months, 4 months, and she writes to the board of Health New Zealand and its chairperson, Dame Karen Putasi, and says, this is not good, basically. And on the 22nd of March, Putasi writes back to Reti, okay, her Minister of Health, rejecting the Finance Minister, Nicola Willis's criticism of Health New Zealand, calling it unfair and assuring him that the board was intent on ensuring good financial discipline. Then, a week later, they go ahead with this conference. Now, to bring in the top 300, just put some sort of perspective for you. To bring in the top, well, supposedly the top 300 people in health, almost all of them would have been health bureaucrats. There would have been very few clinicians, very few, almost no nurses, no doctors. They would have been health bureaucrats. Now, you just think about that for a moment. How do you end up with 300 bureaucrats in New Zealand? But you do. And you get 300, and this is from outside of Wellington. And then you have a conference that opens on a Monday, and you're flying people up, presumably on the Monday or over the weekend. You're accommodating them in Wellington. And can I tell you, accommodation's expensive in Wellington. I don't know why it is, but it is. It's more expensive than in other areas of New Zealand, and I guess that's because there's a shortage of it and there's a demand. And then you have this conference at Sky City, and you have, and the remarkable thing is the number of people who went to that conference. This is just in March of this year, so this is just a few months ago. And you're not, in actual fact. Now, a conference like this, if you're thinking, oh, well, it's a new government and they've got new priorities and stuff like that. Well, yeah, they have. But this isn't really about that. This was about ways in which they can improve themselves, supposedly, this particular conference. Yeah, but with all due respect, why didn't you just put that in a memo? In a conference, I don't know if you've ever been to conferences. I hate them. I don't think I've ever been to a good one, in the sense of they're all for show. There is no working at a conference. There isn't one conference I've been to in my entire life where I've learned something, or alternatively, where I can take something back and make a difference to the organisation, whatever it might be, of which I've been a part. They're all useless. They are a construct of the late 20th century that was designed by presumably caterers, airlines and hotel and accommodation providers, and by local government bureaucrats, to suggest that getting together was a good idea. Now, if you were going to be working at this conferences, like, oh, I don't know, here's a good example. In the old days, they used to get the rugby unions together. This is in the old amateur days. And they'd get together each year at a conference. They'd elect their president, and they'd sit down and work out, literally with pen and paper, which of their teams was going to be playing which of their other teams in New Zealand on which days, and who was going to be getting the proceeds from the gate. Right? So it was sort of a working conference, if you like. They're actually doing real work, which you couldn't do any other way in those days because there wasn't email. There was a telephone, but there wasn't teleconference facilities. There were a whole series of things that didn't do. Now, we've just been through COVID, in which we know, and I know certainly as an elected governance member, that you can in actual fact have really quite useful meetings and get stuff done without even moving from your home at all. Zoom, Teams, God, there's some sort of Apple thing out there as well, I don't know. But anyhow, and bang, and you're there. And if it was to say, listen to the minister, well, the minister could have just simply got up, sat in front of his camera in his office in the same way that I'm here in this particular studio, and just said, hi, my name's Shane Reddy, this is what we're going to be doing. The rest of the conference was those dreadful breakout sessions. And that's the other thing. All conferences are stupid. They're run by stupid people. No, they're run by bright people for stupid people. The bright people are farming the conference attenders for themselves.
Oh, those
and there's a whole series
of horrible.
Well, there's a whole series of professional conference organisers, Josh. And they have managed to convince and persuade stupid people, mostly bureaucrats, but other stupid people as well, that getting together and spending large sums of money is useful. But everybody who actually and can I tell you something else? Those who secretly attend conferences actually see it as a bit of a holiday. So it's a chance to go somewhere else than your own boring existence, stay in a hotel, have hotel meals or paid for accommodation and meals, go for drinkies with all the other delegates, and then fly home a bit hungover, like I am today, and suggest that you've done something effective. You haven't done anything at all except spend ratepayers' or taxpayers' money. You've achieved nothing. And this conference was one of those. Now, the irony of all this is that not only did they spend, and listen, we're just touching the surface of how much money would have been spent. They just talked about the catering, for God's sake. They haven't even got into the accommodation, the airfares and the taxis, etc. But here's the workshops, can I say, Josh? Here's the workshops they went to. There was a workshop titled, How do we make Health New Zealand more transparent for our staff and the public? Question mark. What? Why would you need to have 300 people in Wellington to answer that question? If that was the aim, then somebody in Wellington can just say, right, let's go. We're going to make it more transparent to the staff and public. I need to gather 300 people in Wellington to answer that question. How about this one? And Tāna Umanga was one of the speakers. What does Tāna Umanga know about health? Josh?
Oh, it's
apparently
little.
He gave a speech titled, This Isn't Tiddlywinks, Leaders as Coaches. And then they also had another one on, what was it? Maximising value and improving productivity. And this was from the Chief Financial Officer, who was presiding over monthly deficits of $140 million a year.
Well, improving productivity. How about not have this conference?
The Maori Health Authority held their own, of course they did, workshop. Okay. The Maori Health Authority. But they were always going anyhow, and everybody in March knew that it was part of the coalition agreement that they go, it doesn't matter, we'll get together anyhow and have our own workshop at the conference. See what I mean? The taxpayer union, listen, it seems so petty when you think about the sums of money and, you know, the $32 canapé, $32 for one canapé. Come on. What the hell is on there? As I said, gold leaf. But when you, in actual fact, go behind that particular headline and then see, yes, but what was the point and purpose of this? What was the thinking that drove you that this was a good idea? Why couldn't you have communicated? Why? And why would you need to gather all those people in Wellington when obviously you haven't solved any of your own problems. I mean, presumably all those people who are paid, what, $300,000 plus, $250,000 plus, all those smart bigwigs sitting in Wellington at the Ministry of Health and the New Zealand Health Authority or whatever they're called, surely that's what they're paid for, work out how to solve problems. But this wasn't we've got the answer. We've got the answer. We now know, you know. Oh, no. These were open-ended questions. Conferences are a junket. If you see any of your local government officials going to them, look at them and condemn them as just junketeers and snoff trofflers, because that's what they are. And the bureaucrats, they're worse. At least you can argue with the elected officials, you should be doing a bit of swanking and going out there. You can't argue that for bureaucrats. Those are my thoughts. What are yours?